Welcome back to The Real Report with Jared Jones and Gene Haffey. Real quick, if you're a seller and you're underwater, call in today to find out what incentives you can get back on your home. Up to $25,000 in cooperative money, even for underwater homeowners. We have a list of buyers ready to buy your home. We will come and match them up with your home with our marketing system for free. Getting your home sold is what it's about. The least amount of time for the most amount of money and the least amount of hassle. Call 496-5000 or go to 4965000.com for more details. Back into what we have been discussing in the 7 most deadly, cost-effective issues that we've had come up for sellers. What costs them thousands of dollars and how we prevent it. Okay? Segueing out of number 5, the strong negotiation aspect. As I was telling you before, do-it-yourselfers or those that have agents, if you are in the middle of a transaction, this is exactly what happens. I'm going to give you a definite case study that just happened in the past week and how I put $30,000 back on the table. We had a file where the home got an offer of $230,000. $230,000. The appraisal came in at $200,000. Immediately, the buyer is wanting to negotiate this transaction to bring it to where the seller can fork that money over. Have your seller throw back $20,000, $25,000 of the sale. I said, absolutely not. We put this home on the market for the price we did, and I made a scientific, a very methodical rebuttal of the appraisal's report. Now, the way you do this is appraisals arrive at the value of their home heavily weighted on comparison. They take your home and around 5 or 6 other properties in the area that have comparable square footage, comparable bedroom count, and definitely the proximity is a big deal, how close these other homes are to yours. They take not only sold homes, but those that haven't sold yet. And you can take and look into an appraisal report if you've ever seen one, and you can tell where sometimes the appraiser might have weighted some of their adjustments that they make on the value of the home. They make all these little adjustments in all the homes that are in there, and they make them in a way that is not favorable to the seller, to your home. So when you find those challenges, you can issue a very sound rebuttal that has to be looked at, has to be responded to. And in this case, once we have the value back, we'll have put $30,000 back on the deal through a very sound, non-personal, value-based argument. And that's it. Nothing more, nothing less. So strong negotiation is a huge deal if you're going to do it. We talked about keeping yourself out of the transaction. If you're doing it yourself, if you're using an agent, have they had the experience of negotiating tons and tons of contracts? Have they been in these different dynamics? And you just kind of want to find those things out before you choose an agent. It's definitely a critical aspect that can take money off the table and cost you thousands of dollars as a seller.
Well, and it's for sellers that are in the traditional sale, short sale. I mean, you name it. There's all kinds, especially in the short sale process. There's definite key parts of the negotiation with the lender of what you're going to have in the approval, what you're not going to have in the approval, and it can make a big, big difference to the owner.
Absolutely. The number 7 point that I'm going to get to, I've got 6 and 7 I have to deal with. Number 7 is the do-it-yourselfers. I'm going to cover all the do-it-yourself issues. If you're listening on this show today and you want to know what are my pitfalls, what do I need to be wary of, I'm going to cover that in a moment. So stay tuned for that. Number 6, minor. I'm going to cover it really quick so we can move on to the do-it-yourself portion. Which most callers may be interested in, most listeners may really be intrigued about. Poor buying, poor entry in the market. You'd say, well, I thought we were talking about selling and how if I sell and I lose thousands of dollars. Well, poor buying and what you pay for a home, if it's done inappropriately, can be done in a fashion where when you sell, you're going to net thousands less. The main point I want to hit home on this is make sure that if you do not have a very sound volume of research done with yourself, with your agent, and it's specifically the internet. The internet's become such a massive tool. You ought to have a relative idea of what you should pay for the home you're interested in. That means you should be able to look at a home, and having seen many homes to weigh against them, you see this home for $200, this home for $180, and the home that you like, let's say, out of the three. Let's say there's one for $200, one for $180. The one you like is right in the middle. You know, hey, this is valued at around $190. Now, there may be very little validity to your opinion, but your opinion is yours nonetheless, and you should, many times you can be accurate. And you as a buyer you can say, you can play the prices right with the market, and you should. So moving on, poor buying affects the market. Hurried buying is a problem.
Well, yeah, and more so than that is just understanding your expectations when you are buying. If you have an exit strategy, how long you want to hold the property for. All these things are major factors, and that goes into poor buying.
Absolutely, yeah. Our discussion with investors is much different than one with a homeowner in that regard. So it's much more of a statistical decision on the investor side.
Yeah, and we just understand their expectations right up front and their goals, and that's one of the key parts to understanding when to buy.
Doing it yourself, key thing. For sale by owner is a big deal these days. What are the pitfalls? What can cost you thousands of dollars as a for sale by owner? Well, let's cover some of those main points. Number one, legal issues. As a for sale by owner, you are not off the hook for many of the statutory items that you have to have as a part of a sale. So there are, for instance, okay, you want to sell your home? Let me give you some input on that. You have to have a seller's property disclosure form. That has to be put out there, okay? That's a big one. There's another form called the Real Estate Disclosure Guide. Everybody that buys and sells ought to have a Real Estate Disclosure Guide between them. There are homeowners association documents that must be exchanged in a transaction. Top 3 that I can think of. There are more. If your home was older than 1978, it may have lead-based paint. Very big. You can't get through a transaction safely without having some of these legal hindrances issued and dealt with. Now, another thing with legal concerns, folks think that, hey, I don't really have to bring that up. Well, certain things can be, if they are hidden from view and you knew about it, a client or buyer could come and buy your home, and if it can be proven that you hid it, they can actually gain a win, legal, if they can get a legal win against you on that particular item, then they can get treble damages or triple the damages brought against you as a result of that situation. So a very key thing to watch and be on guard for is legal issues that can come up. Another thing is be ready to invest a lot of time in your sale. If you're going to do it yourself, there's a lot of value-added benefits that us as agents provide. For instance, I have a smooth closing guarantee. So you list your home with me, you're going to get a smooth closing guarantee, and I'm putting my money where my mouth is that you will have a qualified buyer in your home. And there's certain steps that I take before we take any offer from buyers when you're extended this guarantee to make sure that we don't have pitfalls happen on your sale. You as a do-it-yourself homeowner will absolutely need to be on guard to manage those types of situations. You're going to need to watch your title and see what's going on with the title of your home. The deed, is it clear? Does it have liens on it? Are there anything in your past that you may have forgotten about? A boyfriend or girlfriend or ex-spouse that had an interest that you have kind of forgotten about that is now something that will have to be dealt with. A competent agent can help do that. Not advocating that's what you have to do, but I'm just saying it's something that should be expected, especially if you're underwater. If you're underwater, I highly, highly, highly recommend that you get professional help with that. Most lien holders want you to have qualified professionals help because it makes their time with this process easier because they know that they're dealing with someone on the other side who gets it. One other thing you want to be aware of and possibly work against is what I would call the eccentricity factor. That is the fact that people just are sometimes not open to buying for sale by owners. If you have a situation where you're trying to sell your house in this market and you can't sell it, there's definitely an eccentricity factor involved. Folks just feel like, I don't know what I'm getting myself into. There's not a professional involved. just know that if you are going to do it yourself, like when you sell a car, the best people who actually move merchandise give you a fair amount of certification. You know what you're getting yourself into. I will tell you this as a do-it-yourselfer, that aside from pricing your home, the best way that you can set yourself up for success is make sure that you have the eccentricity factor under control. That means you can offer a blue ribbon bow process that looks like and puts yourself in a position where a buyer can be comfortable buying your home. I would argue statistics about the fact that if an agent worth their salt generates high enough demand, that the commission would more than cover the cost of the sale. And funny thing is, a lot of times folks get caught on the cost. The price is never a concern whenever there's value. Price is only a concern in the absence of value. And a lot of times, if you find yourself getting hit with a cost and you say, I just can't validate the cost of selling my home. And many times that's just because the benefit to you, you just can't feel it. You can't see how a particular service provider, in our case, speaking of real estate brokers, can actually benefit you. But there's no doubt that anyone without expertise can fill an agent's shoes. It's not for everybody.
Well, I think the biggest thing to that, Jared, is just having anybody that wants to sell by owner understand the time factor. I mean, there's a lot of time that goes into a sale.
There definitely is. Well, thanks for joining us on The Real Report, and until next time, go big.